Hello, hello. All right, YouTube, checking sound. Are we all on? Okay, let me get Instagram on. Had a little bit of some connection issues, so hopefully we're going to be okay with our Wi-Fi connection. But welcome, clutter-free family, to the Clarity Hotline. Okay, first of all, as I say, I want to just throw it out there that this episode is sponsored by the word And so throughout this whole entire time, you're going to experience me removing it from the conversation. I even have a little post-it note. Look, stop saying It's a big one. It's a big one for me. But we're going to do it. Okay, let's do it together. You're going to see me slowly work that out of my repertoire because I tend to say it too much. And it's in my awareness. And I hear other people say it. It doesn't bother me so much when other people say it, but it bothers me when I say it. Am I judging myself? Is this self-judgment? Anywho, so welcome. Let's ground and center and calm. Big breath in, big breath out. Feel that. Close your eyes if you can. Even take that breath in. Picture it as white, pure light, just here to cleanse everything from the inside out. And then exhale, let it cleanse, move it through, move it out. And yeah, just breathe until you feel settled and grounded and connected and here and now. And clarity will happen. Clarity will come. Okay, so let's pull out my notes. I'm a little bit nervous about one of the questions that came in, but I feel like, let's just go with it. It's really funny, but anyway. I just want to first say, before we get into the questions, let me give you what they are. How much should I spend on ads starting out in business? What's your story? And then how do you break out of survival mode? I don't know. So we've got 2 mom FAQs because they came from moms. So we'll see what we can get to. But they are also, just general questions for anybody, as any entrepreneur, I would say, any creator out there can benefit from these questions. But speaking of creator, I am loving being on YouTube. And I know I sound like a broken record because I've said this before on Clarity Hotlines. I even have a couple videos about YouTube. I'll link. And it's just, it feels a little bit more organized for my brain that I get to see these creators just expressing themselves. And because I feel like a bona fide YouTuber, because I've been doing this for a year, I'm not saying I'm like, I got the YouTube plaque or anything. But it is like, I feel my community here, I'm already feeling very connected. And I love seeing other creators doing their thing and speaking their truth and sharing their message. It's very inspiring. And some of the creators and I chat, but then also, you might not know that I'm watching your stuff. You're like, I'm one of your followers. I'm one of your subscribers because I love what you're doing, and so it's very cool. And I saw somebody who used one of my videos thumbnail copy, my little thumbnail, they copied it. And I was like, whoa, I'm not even a big timer, but they copied it because they thought it was like powerful, strong. So I was actually flattered, not offended, not mad about, because I think in this space, you are seeing a lot of that. It's not so trendy and obvious as like on Instagram or TikTok, where you're seeing the trend and you can follow the trend. And the point is the trend, right? To hop on the trend is the point. Here, it's very much just one of the practices that you hear a lot of the YouTube growth gurus talking about, where, if you see something working for another channel, especially in another niche, take it and apply it to yours. And so we're in separate niches. And so he took that. I thought that was cool. And then, I also borrow from other people and I test my thumbnails based on what I see other people doing in other niches that I love. And I don't know, it just feels very much like we understand the road ahead, and there's just mad respect for the people that have made it through that like are in the 15K subscriber count, because even though there's like the million subscriber counts, you see those accounts for sure. You see the accounts with 100K subscribers, big deal. I expect to be there myself. But the 15K for whatever, or the 5 to 15K range, it feels very like they're still figuring it out, right? They're still kind of getting their message. So I think we're just going to be at this a long time, but it's just, I don't know. And then I'm also part of a community of YouTubers all looking to grow. And the conversations we have are pretty deep. It could get deep mostly around the growth, right? And what to expect as far as growth. And when things kind of stall out, which I feel like my channel did again. I feel like I had a stall moment under 100 subscribers, and now over 200. I feel like I have another stall out moment. And I recognize that a lot of people will have that, or they face that and they get kind of disgruntled with the platform and with the algorithm, with the app. They're kind of disgruntled around it. And I think our job, and we recognize it as creators, is not to get disgruntled, not to get bombarded or derailed by it, that there's inner work to be done here, that we have to get over that vanity metric and keep going. And so I love the creators that are just still going. Let's do this. That's what I want to say on any account, Instagram included. It's, we're just going to keep going despite the odds. That's where the work is, right? Getting there despite the odds. And let's start out with that question that came in. So this question's from Turks, and they wrote, "What's your story?" And it's funny because that could be read so many ways. Like, what's your story? But I read it as, immediately, honestly, first I read it as, what's your story? What journey are you on? Where are you in life? That's what I read it as. And so that's how I want to answer it. And I think it's important to share my story so that you guys know what I'm about. And so I did take a second because I was thinking, oh man, I could share so much, but I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. So I did jot down some notes that I literally briefly just went through my timeline, starting with, probably starting, yes, as a kid, but more so when my brand and my business started. I feel like that might resonate more with the viewers of this particular channel. And so let's get into it. When I was a wee tot, when I was a little girl, so I'm the youngest of 5, and us girls, 3 girls, shared a bedroom, and the boys shared a bedroom. And I remember, being too young to be considered cool by them. And I was the baby, I was the brat in their eyes. And I'm sure, maybe I was, who knows? And I just remember being a loner. I'd play by myself. I'd do my own thing because I wasn't necessarily hanging out with them. I hung out more with my cousin, who is similar age, 1 year younger, and she's my bestie for life. She's my best cousin for life, and we grew up together as besties. And I had besties at school. She had besties. We both have besties outside of each other. And so we're our best cousins, each other's best cousin. And so anyway, we hung out a lot together. But other than that, yeah, I had obviously play dates with my schoolmates and things like that. And I had, basketball league I was in, and I did track and field as a kid. My dad was always there to make us active, be somewhat behind our activity level. Getting us out of the house was a big deal for him, even if we were pulling weeds in the back. Anyway, so I was a loner, so I played a lot by myself. I remember playing Barbies by myself a lot, and that is fine by me. Honestly, I love seeing my kids have independent play separately, and I love it when they're playing together as siblings. My sons are close in age, so I want them to be close in spirit and in heart and in mutual respect. I want them to love each other as siblings and know that they, you got my back, in a really loving way. So, anywho, that's kind of where my story begins because, and I share this in my book, The Declutter Code. If you haven't read it yet, I share more of my story in the Declutter Code of my upbringing and my dad being a pack rat, my mom being a shopaholic, loving terms. Anywho, so we had a lot of stuff, but it was really organized. My mom, not a thing was out of place. My mom was just a stickler for that, super organized, super clean. So she always wanted the house spotless. It really, honestly, truly, she managed with all us 5 kids to have like a beautiful home. And mad respect for mom, because that is hard. It's hard to do. Speaking as mom now myself. Anywho, she managed. And we had our chores, we did our part. I'm sure there were a lot of rules. Like the living room was off limits, for instance. Her room was off limits, things like that. Well, anyway, and Saturday chores. I remember Saturday chores. So there was that. But she was just really good at making sure the house at any point could accept a guest, and there was nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing to hide behind. Well, anyway, I saw that growing up, and somehow, some way, like being free from clutter was a big deal for me, especially when I moved out on my own. I maintained really orderly spaces as well. So thanks to mom, I maintained orderly spaces as well, always being guest ready in my home. Well, anyway, fast forward, I'm in corporate world. I quit corporate world to travel and backpack South America. I landed in Brazil, don't know anybody except one person because of a friend, and knew nothing of the language, did not know Portuguese, but was determined to leave. So I quit, and within a matter of a month, I was gone because I was like, I got to do this, and I'm not doing it while I'm working. So I really had to like force feed my actions here. Meaning like I bought my ticket, my out. I bought my ticket within a month of quitting. Well, anyway, I had to downsize my house. I had to downsize my stuff and not take up, I put it in storage, but a really small storage for having, I don't know, been on my own for 10 years at that point, and downsizing from a 1-bedroom apartment into a 5x7 or 5x5 storage. At this point, I don't remember the details. I know I wrote it in the book, but I downsized and stored the stuff, and I recognized, one, I'm backpacking, so I have to stay light on my feet and nimble and portable and move around. I had my own Upwork profile, and that's how I was going to be portable. So I had marketing clients back then. I took on marketing clients because I came from the marketing world. I was in the marketing and advertising space. So I had clients there. And then I took on clients as an entrepreneur of my own brand, my own business. And I had already done that, but this was me on my own solo. I had a partner before, and then we dissolved our business, and then I went on my own. Anyway, all this kind of jives together. The storyline, they all weave themselves together, but all this is happening, right? Well, anyway, I had to downsize. So I'm forced to kind of look at my stuff in a new way. And that way was, I'm not going to pay to store this if I don't love it. So I had to go through everything, even like childhood dolls, and let go of a Cabbage Patch, that I still think about, but I wasn't as close. It wasn't something I wasn't super attached to it. So I kind of relive the memories and let stuff go. So that was happening for everything. And I downsized a lot and then packed up my bags and I left. Well, backpacking around and staying light and lean, and even leaving stuff at hostels, like leaving a shirt here, leaving a shirt there, because I was like, I'm done with this. I don't need it anymore. And just kind of like lightening my load as I went. And then having that whole experience lead to the Declutterist being born. So the Declutterist brand was born literally one fateful morning in Brazil, in my beautiful, absolutely beautiful Santa Teresa, like rented room. I rented a room in this beautiful freaking house. Oh man, it was like a tree house, literally. And I don't know, hopped up one morning out of bed, and I remember journaling. I remember seeing some ad from Brendan Burchard and joining his free webinar or something at the time. I ended up joining his Experts Academy. That was like my first lead into like being part of the conference circuit and like joining and doing those things, which are fun. I feel like I want to do one again. But anyway, I was in that program. But anyway, I watched a webinar of his, and he walks you through kind of a couple things that I had been thinking about. And I was thinking, oh, okay. So I was applying my own thoughts and beliefs and ideas for what my next iteration of business would be as I watched his webinar, and the Declutterist was born. And it did go into decluttering from the inside out, because I recognized the journey I had been on and how it was very an internal path to feel decluttered in life and light and free is really an inside out job. I knew that it never was about the stuff. You don't clear a space and automatically get free in life. If anything, the activity of decluttering your physical space is also mentally working as well. You're mentally moving through the stuff as well. It's a reckoning of your beliefs about this thing, the stories you hold about this thing, what you're clinging to about this thing, and how it makes you a better person, gives you a higher status. You identify with it in what shape, in what way? How do you identify with it? How does it belong to your story, right? And you're going through that process as you're decluttering, even if it's downsizing your silverware collection or clearing out your junk drawer. You're still going through it, because at any point in that, even if as mindless as it sometimes feels when you're clearing out batteries and keys you don't know what they go to, you are moving through your stories, your past. And why do I have this key? What does it go to? Oh, it could go through a number of things I've had keys for along my life. Do I keep it? Do I let it go? Cords, right? What device does this go to? Where does it go? And can I throw it away? Can I get by throwing it away? A lot of times we keep our cords because we're like, have no clue. And we don't want to be up against like, where's that cord? And then not be able to charge the device. I saw one funny TikTok once on that, how men in particular keep every cord. But anyway, so we're going through those stories as we declutter, and it's an inside out job. So I wrote the book, The Declutter Code, 10 Simple Steps to Clarity, because I recognize once you declutter from within, you can easily declutter from without. You can easily declutter your environment. but it starts with that mental environment. And so that morphed. So I was coaching on that. So started podcast and all the things. Anyway, actually, you know what? Let me backtrack to, I also, before backpacking, I had a problem with anxiety. And now you'll see some recurring patterns as I became a mom. These things all came up again. Well, anyway, I had a problem with worrying a lot. And so when I went to college, I would literally call my mom every single day. I mean, it's great to call your mom every single day, but why I was calling her was like with a worry or a fear or some type of like anxiety. I would be calling her. And I recognized that. And she always had some sage advice, always, always, always. Don't borrow trouble from tomorrow. Yvette, don't sweat the small stuff. She was super wise woman, my mom. Anyway, she would do that. Well, eventually I got into yoga and other things, even church, and it helped me with my anxiety. Well, I also had one severe incident happen. So I was studying for my stats final or midterm, and stats was really hard for me. I struggled. I had a tutor, and I don't know. I just wouldn't let the concepts come in. I refused. I had a mental wall. And I had a really awful teacher for stats. The first stats I had to take as part of like gen ed in my business program at USC Marshall School. And I just remember really struggling to get through the stats class. Anyway, midterms come, I'm trying to study. I'm thinking about how if I don't pass this, I won't get into business school, which means I'll flunk out of college. I'll become a bum. I'll never make it in life. And all this stuff was going through my mind as these numbers were swirling in the page. And I blacked out. I don't remember. But I did wake up in fetal position with my 2 roommates over me, about to call 911. I shook them off. No, I'm okay. Took a breath. And realized from that experience that I had to come up with solutions, better coping mechanisms than just panicking all the time and calling my mom, that I had to come up with something. Well, anyway, all that stuff happened. All of my work, my inner work started. And I started yoga. Or at least I dabbled in yoga. I was interested in yoga. And other things, meditation, prayer, walks in nature, right? With no noise, just really silence, grounding walks. I call them clarity walks now. Well, anyway, that all kind of like informed my journey as I moved on. Well, yoga became a big deal in my life. I became a yoga instructor. I met my husband through yoga. I met him before, but we reunited and really got to know each other in a yoga class. Like, we met in a yoga class is what I really think, because we were just acquaintances before, but we like really met at a yoga class, and the rest is history. We met for coffee that same day. And anywho, I would say yoga was my first yoga class. Like I left being in love with the world. I remember being in yoga class on my mat, like hovering over myself and watching me move through the poses and thinking, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever done. And I was floating after that class. One, in like body and mind, I was floating and feeling super free and loving and like so connected to the divine that courses through my veins. I was so connected. I was put back into my body, and how important it is to be into my body. It took me out of my head and into my heart, because this is all the body, the brain, everything. And it took me into my heart, right? And so I really got connected there. And this was before I had left for Brazil. So this was all factoring in. Well, anyway, I'm back in the States. My business is going and booming. I'm coaching, and I'm coaching a lot around business because my business background. Also have an MBA. in business, consumer psychology emphasis. And all of this is melding into how I help others. And it really started feeling like a lot of life coaching was happening on these calls. So, not just marketing strategy and things like that, but actual life coaching and helping people through the clutter that was in their way, obviously, because of the book. We're talking a lot about that. And I could identify immediately hearing the story of my clients where their clutter was. And we'd work through that. And then there was another cycle that repeated, another pattern that showed up, and we'd work through that clutter. And we'd break free from all of that stuff and to, transformations in business and life and relationships and health, all the things. And so anyway, fast forward, then my husband and I have babies. I become a mom, and I have another kind of panic attack, not a blackout, but a panic attack. I went through postpartum depression. My therapist said I had an anxiety disorder, and I was determined to use the same tools that I used to get over that anxiety disorder from my college days again, because I was entering like a new phase of life, a new identity. So I was facing identity crisis, imposter syndrome, because I was an entrepreneur turned mom. So I had to embrace my new identity, my new sense of self, and what was that, and who am I now with kids. And all of this has informed now my next iteration of business, still doing the same thing, because I still help people with marketing. I still help people get through the clutter in their lives. And now more specifically, helping moms reclaim a life without burnout. So this is all factoring in. And why it's important to tell my story and to say kind of how I got here is because you also have a story in you, and you've got a story to tell. You've got a message that was birthed from the experiences you had in your life so far. And we all want to hear it. We want to hear your story. Share it. Tell us. So that was kind of the start of moving into helping mompreneurs, entrepreneur moms, and starting the mastermind for entrepreneur moms. That's really how all that came, because even as I saw it, like my husband and I became parents, he was already a dad before. I have 2 bonus daughters. So he was already a father, but I got to see him now as a daddy, because I saw firsthand. Obviously, I saw him be a dad to his daughters, but before we got married and had kids, I got to see that. I know he's a loving father. He's so sweet and thoughtful and fun. I always saw that. And then I got to see it firsthand, right, with something he and I created, this family unit that he and I created. And I saw a struggle with accepting our roles, because yes, he was a father already, but this was different, right? It was with me, different woman, different set of kids, different everything. And so we struggled in our roles, and I struggled in my role becoming a mom, because, I was fighting depression. He was fighting with equal distribution of labor and coming out from under those machismo type of mindsets with how he operated in this household. And as a dad, as a husband, we're finding our place in the world, in our shared lives, and struggle. Honestly, I look back at us as a couple and think, man, what have we gone through? And it's like I can laugh about it and I can stay light about it, because I look back and think, oh man, those poor kids, those poor little souls, what they endured. And I feel bad for them not knowing things that I now help other moms, couples, by way of the mompreneur, face and move through and get better at, right? This equal distribution of labor, the things that worked for me in my household, to where I was struggling even asking for help. And now I've got a script for how to ask for help, how to get more help from your partner, from your nanny, from the people that support you, from your community, from the village that you're curating, from your parents, right? As the grandma and grandpa, how do you get that help and that support? And really how to build your business around you living a life with your family, you living and spending quality time with your family and not having to neglect that aspect as you try to get your business to work. And I think a lot of times we aspiring mompreneurs do feel the sacrifice in the hustle of it all. Well, then mindset comes back into play. And for me, mindset was always a thing. I'm always a student of the mind. I've started reading self-help books since I could read, especially in my 25th year of life. I had a quarter life crisis like you wouldn't believe. I mean, it's just like I should probably insert that in there too. That was after my college panic attack. I had a quarter life crisis. Like, what am I doing? What do I do? And who am I? Does this matter? Existential crisis. And so we had these like recurring patterns. But anyway, I moved through that. And I heard Rhonda Byrne, author of The Secret, say that she was depressed about her daughter being sick. And she had to rely on The Secret and coming back to that and what she knows to be the truth of the world. And she moved through her depression. And she says, oh man, I went through this so that I could help others move through their depression. And so I feel the same, right? We have our story, we have our struggles, and we have our triumphs. And we share our story of our struggle and our triumph, and we're helping others move through their struggle into triumph. And in whatever way you're doing that, right? Through art, through dance, through coaching, courses, speeches, you're doing that, books, all of that. Your social profile, you're doing this on social media. You are creating content that helps people through their struggles and into triumph. So we're doing it all the time. It's super beautiful. I love it. I love what I do. And I love that I'm doing it as a mom alongside my fellow mompreneurs. We're all doing it. And so the community that's created is a lovely one because we get each other on all levels. On the mom level, so there's conversations about just parenting and the struggles there. And really the cost of parenting on our business and the cost of business on our parenting, and how do you bring that back into balance so there's not so much sacrifice where you don't want to make compromise where you don't want to make the compromise. I talked about this on the video that dropped last week about where's our villages? How do we find support as mompreneurs? What happened to our villages? And I think now we're finding the support as modern mothers. We're finding support in who we acquire as our villages, who we curate into like a new generation of villages, because it's not the same. They don't look the same as they did for our parents, our villages. And our villages nowadays are more curated. So as we in my mompreneur community, as we face these challenges with parenting, as we face these challenges with business, this is our village. We're able to find that peer support and people who get us, that we're not just working moms, but we're actually building something from scratch. We're building something from nothing. We're not just accepting a paycheck, going through the 9 to 5 and clocking out and becoming mom, or fitting mom into our free time at work when there's nothing to do and we're on our computers at work. We're still getting a paycheck, but we're able to do our thing. Well, it's different, right, for an entrepreneur, because you're the person paying yourself. So how you are setting up this business, the systems of support you have in place, mean that you're making money while you sleep or not. Hopefully the former. You want to be making money while you're playing at the park, while you're sleeping, and while you're hanging out with the kids. You want to be making money, right? Your business is working for you, not against you. It doesn't take up all of your time. So it really does. For me, after having kids, I really had to kind of take my business down to the nuts and the bolts. I had to break it down to the basics, come back down to basics. What do I want? Who am I serving? How am I serving them? What do I want to do on a day-to-day basis? How do I want this business to complement my life as a mom, support it, give to it, nourish it, me as a human, me as a CEO, me as a mother, me in all those roles? How do I want to live my life? I don't want to neglect any part of myself. So us in all these roles, you want people who get it, who are also there in all those roles, in all those many degrees, and expressing yourself fully and finding right your truth and your fulfillment, your freedom on a day-to-day basis, getting more and more enlightened and clear on why you are here. Then that's the name of the game. So that's where we are right now. It brings us to current day, present day, in the story of my life and what I'm doing and how I'm helping people and the impact that I hope to make. So I really, I don't know. I hope to work with you someday, whoever's watching this. Anyway, I'll put information on how you can work with me in the description below. This is how I'm currently working with clients. And I believe that wraps up the question. Thank you, Turks. What's your story? What's your story? That's how I read it. I thought that was really fun. Okay, so the next question is, okay, so here's our mom FAQ from Francis. How much should I spend on, at least I read it as a mom FAQ. I'm going to take it as that. How much should I spend on ads starting out in business? Okay, so I've got a lot of opinions about this because I think there is a way to bootstrap your business in the beginning, especially bootstrap in time and effort and energy and money, because I don't believe in starting a business in debt, a lot of debt. I mean, I guess even if you're an app creator, you don't have to start business in debt. There's so many ways to use AI, free tools to build your app or promote your app, social media. So there's so many free tools out there that to build your organic base, your organic audience before you start spending money on ads. I don't believe that's the best way to go about starting out in business, spending money on ads. I know this isn't the first time you're probably hearing that advice. Well, so the something that I do, if you're applying for the Mastermind for Entrepreneur Moms, it's an application process. If you apply for that, you get a clarity session, a free clarity coaching call with me. And this is something that I go through. It's kind of the bootstrap model of starting out in business. If you're talking to me, you're going to walk away from that call. Even if you don't join the mastermind, you're going to walk away from that call with a kind of a marketing plan. Like what is your plan? What's your primary focus right now, maybe for the next 30 days? What day in, day out? What's the first thing you're going to work on? What's your focus? We're working through that. And so you get to walk away with that value. I want you to walk away with something. So anyway, what I recognize on the calls with some of the mompreneurs that are applying and looking into the mastermind is that there's always some form of fear that is keeping you from the next level. So we gotta get through that. We gotta break through that. And a lot of times when you bootstrap and you move back down to basics, like I did in my business after having kids, I kind of reinvented what I do. Not really, if you notice the through line in my story. I at least pivoted a lot. I pivoted a lot in my business after having kids, and there was a new level, a new devil to get over, right? New level, new devil, a new fear to face as a mompreneur that I hadn't faced before. And we're always taking the leap over fear, which is a mindset thing. You've got to take the leap over fear in your mind. And anyway, so as we work through these, this conversation about, what's your focus right now, we really have to look at what is the goal. What is your goal ultimately? Like, give me the 10-year goal, the 10-year plan. What do you see for yourself in 10 years? What's the vision? Paint a picture for me. Get super detailed and granular and detailed. Use colors for me. Tell me everything. And then we can literally back pedal and work backward and build kind of this project timeline for you and how to get there. One that really resonates, not just something that somebody's telling you to do because they're selling you a course, but something that really resonates with who and how you are and how you want to be. So anyway, we get clear on that. That's the clarity piece, right? We get clear on the vision and how you're going to get there, and not so much, dwelling on the how, but really you're the first step that you're going to take. And I guarantee you, if you're starting out a business, it's not running ads. It's not even building a website. Depending on where you are in business, that is not even what I would suggest you focus on. Anyway, I would say, okay, let's go back to the question so that I make sure I'm answering it. How much should I spend on ads starting out in business? So $0. Because I think it's important to build your community, work through your messaging, see what messaging is landing for your audience, and get an idea there. Have conversations with prospective clients, people just on the web. Talk to them. Even in Reddit forums, you can read about things. In reviews, Amazon book reviews, you can see what people are talking about, what they're struggling with. And then obviously people you're coming up against or coming up to in meetings and meeting. What are they talking about? So there's so many ways to kind of go about surveying the land and understanding where your message, where your solution fits into the big picture. So you think about, for me, the mompreneur has littles at home, and she's stepping into something new as an entrepreneur mom, either motherhood or a business. A lot of times moms want to start a business to help the household move ahead and pay for bills and really afford more luxuries and opportunities for their kids. So they want to start a business. A lot of them might go into MLMs or things like that, something that you can do more passively, or at least it's promoted as such, done passively. That's a real draw for mompreneurs. Well, I always encourage somebody looking at that path because you are having to pay for usually inventory or some type of fee ongoing to keep status and rank inside an MLM. So you're putting out money. I always encourage you to make sure, if you're going that route, to tie it to something really true to you and your story and your path. And obviously just make this kind of one means that you're getting your message out into the world, your true core message, because one day you might leave that MLM, but you won't lose your audience, right? You won't lose your audience because you've always been true to your story of struggle and triumph. And maybe this is just one of the tools you use, this drink, this app, this service, whatever it is, you are using it as part of your story, your progression, your transformation. And so you're just kind of plugging this into your story. So that's how you would kind of share your message using whatever MLM you're in. Make sure that is happening. And then obviously look to liquidate the fees. So make sure that you're making more, right? Aim to make more than your fees are. Don't just have this be an expensive hobby, but make some money on it. I would say that's something to look to. And I guess in a way that is spending money on ads, right? When you're paying to run your business, whatever you're paying for, just recognize what your expenses are and make sure that it's necessary. That is a huge audit. So an 80/20 audit is part of my 80/20 edit. And we break down what are the fewest tools that you can put in place, and most of them can be free, that keep your expenses low. Because as you come into profit, or revenue rather, as you come into revenue for your business, expenses don't exceed revenue. So you're at a profit. And businesses at a profit, running at a profit earlier on, can really scale faster, easier, and stick around longer. It's more sustainable, the model, the business model, if there's profit earlier on. And anyway, so revenue minus expenses equals profit. You want to obviously be in the black in your business. So I hope that answered that question, because we're coming up on the hour. Even though I started late, we're probably not really at the hour mark because I did start about 10 minutes late today. Let's see. Anything else? Let me make sure I don't have any YouTube comments or questions, I should say. Comments. Thank you. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the love, everyone. Thanks for being here live. And thanks for watching the replay. Also means very much to me. I know the time of day doesn't always work out on a Thursday, 12 noon Pacific, doesn't always work out to show up live. But I see you watching the replay. I see the comments come through. Thank you so much. But yeah, I think that kind of wraps up that question. And I don't, obviously, for time's sake, want to get into this question. I think we'll save this question, how do you break out of survival mode, for next week's call. I'll put that one first. Deal? Okay. Thank you, Dana. Sorry about that. I think that does it. I had some notes for all of the questions, so just let me see. Did I cover everything? Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's too much to get into right now. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So I did write a little bit more on that question about ads. So when do you spend money on ads? I would say, honestly, after you've proven some strategy or some funnel, after you've proven an organic funnel. So you've proven a message, you've proven a conversion into a customer, and you've proven an optimization of that funnel. So more than one customer converted, maybe 10, maybe 100, depends on the price point. And then I would start running ads, because at that point you have a testimonial, right? And I think cold audiences is what you get from ads. Cold audiences convert with somebody who's gone before. So they want to see testimonials. So you want to prove that. And so share your testimonials however you can. And that will help, I think, an ad campaign. Not I think, I know, because I see it time and time again. That will help an ad campaign soar faster and liquidate itself. So obviously you're going to spend money. So the way you start an ad campaign, any ad campaign, you are testing. It's not going to liquidate itself immediately. Even if you have tested an organic model, when you move to a paid model, you are essentially testing a new audience. You're testing a cold audience. So you got to see what's working, what's not working. And a lot of times, what's the price point they're willing to convert on somebody they just met. And so you might see a delay in the conversion depending on your price point. Well, that's why you see different ad campaigns. And this is why it's important just not to throw money at ads and think, okay, I'll figure something out. You really want to have some bankable knowledge on your audience that you're exploiting first. So you've got a campaign that kind of is geared toward an audience, maybe a lookalike audience to the people that already converted. So you have a lookalike audience to your customer base, your email list, or even that, right? That's a conversion, just a lead into your email list. So you're basically building lookalike audiences. That's a tested, tried and true, in a way, optimized version of an ad campaign. Then you tweak that and you throw in some testimonials. And so you're testing audiences and you're testing creative. And I know, for instance, on a cold, with a cold brand, something I haven't heard about before, I do like to see testimonials. So I myself, as a guinea pig customer, when I'm comparison shopping, I do like to see testimonials. I like to hear what's worked for someone else and what about it. That's why reviews are so important. Testimonials are important because you're getting that person's perspective, where they were in life. You might resonate with where they are in their customer journey, where they were when they found this product and how it helped them. You want to hear that story. So you want to hear their struggle. Does it resonate with mine? Where did they get to? Do I want to get there too? Then you can hop on that. Now, also, in another ad campaign in that same marketing plan would be your story of struggle and triumph. Your story is also a testimonial. Your own version of the struggle, your own version of triumph, that whole transition, that whole transformation is also important, obviously, because it's going to keep people coming back. Your story is always going to keep people coming back, because even if they're comparison shopping and they see the testimonials, they still want to know about you. So as you're building out your organic model, your organic audience, you want to make sure people are resonating and knowing, liking, trusting you. And that's where your story comes in. And then it becomes about their story, right? And their testimonials. And so I think there is an order to things when it comes to starting a business. There is definitely an order of investment too. Investing, I think, first, your time getting to know your messaging, time getting to know yourself and who you are in this work, what your purpose is, and how you want to deliver, right, on what you offer. What's your fulfillment look like, your fulfillment plan for these customers? What do they get from you, right? And what do they experience? How's the retention in your programs, things like that. So all of that kind of factors in and helps them know, like, and trust you. And when you've got that kind of solved, then you go from there. That is first the investment of your time, then the investment of your money, right? Putting it behind ads, but obviously, or reinvesting into the business, right? Hiring somebody, hiring tech or team, that is you putting money back into the business. So investing money. It doesn't always start out as investing on ads. So it depends, right? So you do want to get clear on your vision, work backward into where you are right now, what makes the most sense, what resonates with where you are in your season of motherhood, where you are in your season of business. How do those two align with your ultimate goal? How do those two complement how you want to live, support how you want to live? What's most sustainable as you move through this season of your life, this phase of your life, and not dropping either baby, right? You're building a business, that's your baby. You're building family, that's your baby. You want to keep, both balls in the air. There are other balls to drop. We talked about that book, Drop the Ball by Tiffany Dufu, one of my favorites when it comes to being a working mom. There are other balls to drop. You got your two most important balls in the air and you can drop some other balls. What are those balls for you? Okay, let's get off that. Okay, so I will see you next week for the next Clarity Hotline. Submit your question at clarityhotline.com for our next call, 12 p.m. noon Pacific, right here on this channel every Thursday. And I will see you next week. I'll include all the links I talked about in the description below, and I'll see you next week. Peace. Bye to Instagram, and ciao for now to YouTube. Peace.